Aaron, welcome back to the show. It's been forever since I've gotten a chance to talk to you, and I'm super excited to talk about the new album, Real Life. And man, I've been enjoying it, and I know other people have been too, but welcome back to the show, dude.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
The last thing that I heard that was yours was the most recent Fair album, which of course has been quite a while ago. What
Yes.
was the reason why it's been so long since we've heard your lovely singing voice on a record?
Well, I actually did put out another record in between Fair and this in 2013. I had a solo record on Tooth and Nail called Water and Guns.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'd forgotten about that one. But then, of course, it's not exactly like 2013 is yesterday either. I mean,
No.
it's been a
Yep.
while. So
Yeah.
what's been going on between the last one and this one?
My music is not my primary focus of my career, especially from a fiscal standpoint. I pay my bills producing and writing music with other artists. Because of that, it can be challenging for me to be able to prioritize making my own music. But that's something I plan on shifting a little bit in the near future. I just feel like I'm kind of ready to not wait quite so long in between releases.
Well, that's good. That's good. So,
Yeah, thanks.
so with all of that happening, I mean, as you have kind of subtly alluded to, I mean, you are a producer, and for most people who listen to music in the vein that they hear on this show, I mean, they have heard your touch on more songs and bands' albums than they probably realize, because you produce a lot of music for other bands, and I know that you co-write on a lot of those too. But what do you think was the takeaway for you from the experience of producing all of these bands over the years, and how that affects the music that you create for yourself?
It's definitely a huge, influence and impact, and vice versa. I mean, I started kind of producing and writing and creating my own music was all one thing for me.
Right.
And it kind of still is in a way. I mean, and so kind of my roots in being in a band and making music and recording music, and then kind of going back and forth between working with other people and working on my own stuff is all kind of one big, really organic gesture to me. And even like producing, really in its best case scenario, I'm being invited into the inner circle of the artists that I'm working with. So in a sense, I am making my own music even then.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely influenced by being around such incredibly talented people all the time, and getting to kind of learn through osmosis and directly, from them.
Right. How do you feel like the new record, Real Life, which has a lot of electronic pop elements and a lot of throwback stylistic sounds to it, for those people who have kept up with your career thus far but maybe haven't had a chance to listen to the new record, how do you think people are going to be surprised?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've already kind of felt that some people are pretty surprised with the direction I went on this record.
I mean, I was.
Yeah. And it's so interesting to me the way, because my friends, the people that I know well that are in the music industry, are like, oh yeah, I totally expected you to do this. This is exactly what I thought you would do.
Interesting.
So it's interesting to me the disconnect between what is sort of perceived and what is really there. And it's not like a negative thing. It's just inevitable, in my opinion. But my roots in music are hugely out of the 80s. It's still probably my favorite era of music. And the first music I ever made as a kid was all synth stuff. It was actually even before the guitar-based stuff that I'm kind of known for, I was making electronic music. It's just no one's ever heard that because I was in 6th grade when I did that. And then also, I think another thing that I think is kind of interesting is if you were to be able to kind of look inside of the reason behind a lot of artists that I work with as a producer, the reason they want to work with me is because of the pop elements that I bring to the table.
Right.
It's because of the programming and the hooks and the melody and the kind of pop arrangement that I can bring into their music and give them maybe a broader demographic, or hit a wider reach. So for me, I've always considered myself a pop guy. Like that's what I love,
Right.
is pop music. Even if the guitars are huge. And then I think for me the other thing that I think is interesting that I when I tell people, like, because I've had a lot of people be like, "What made you make this record? Like why? Like how did that come about?" And I really didn't try to make this record. I went into this record with one kind of mindset, and that was authentic. Like I want to make the record that is in me right now 100% truly inside of me. And that's what came out. That is why I love it so much. I'm so proud of it and so excited about it, is because it was very unfiltered. And that's what I want as a fan from the people that I love to listen to. I want their unfiltered kind of expressions of what it is that's going on with them at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if the next record I make is pretty different than this one. And that's one of the things I love about music, is how diverse and eclectic and expressive it can be in that capturing that moment. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
No, I think it does, and I think it's interesting because recently I talked with Ryan Clark, of course, from Demon Hunter, and that was kind of a thing that was a theme that came out of what he was talking about too, because of course being a lead singer or a songwriter for Demon Hunter is not his primary gig either, and I think that you guys have both kind of hinted that it's like when you don't have to make your own music that while you produce stuff, it's not like if the album doesn't sell, that isn't like as big of a direct reflection on you as if you were just doing your own band or your own solo project, and that was what was putting bread on the table.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that he seemed to really enjoy about where he was at this state in music, is he's like, it's great that this isn't the main thing, and that we can take our time with stuff, and we don't have to be in a rush, because if we don't tour or if we don't put out an album for 3 years, the world's not going to end, and no one's going to be upset about it, because that's not who we are. And it seems like that's kind of a good thing for you as well.
It is. It's huge. And in fact, I've been working with with bands lately that don't necessarily need to, hit a certain number or whatever, that are established bands.
Right.
And it's so freeing to be able to just really express the moment and the passion and the connection without trying to be like, okay, well, trying to figure out that elusive formula that no one ever has, and it usually ends up just mucking stuff up anyway when you try to make songs for somebody or something.
Right.
But yes, it's awesome. It's funny that you brought Ryan up, because he was one of the people that was like, oh yeah, this is exactly the record. He's one of my closest friends, and
yeah,
he did that artwork for this record and stuff. He does all my artwork and stuff, and he was like, yeah, this is exactly the kind of record I expected you to make.
Cool. Now, the other thing that I did not expect, other than just the style of this record, was to see an old school junior high picture of you on the cover. Man, that takes a certain kind of confidence to be able to do that, man. That's awesome.
Well, the funny thing about that is that's kind of Ryan too. Yeah. I would send out kind of rough mixes or unfinished working versions of the songs to people. I sent one to Sherry, who sings on the title track, and I sent one to Ryan. I sent a bunch of songs to Ryan, and I would put just like fake like covers on the songs, like artwork, just to be funny, kind of. And I threw that one on the song Real Life, and Ryan said to me, I won't work on this unless that's the cover. And then Sherry basically said, I'm not singing on your song unless that's the cover. And they don't know each other. And so I was like,
this is a sign.
Yeah, but at first I was like, no way. That's like, I am so embarrassed and equally proud of that photo.
Right.
But Ryan was like really encouraged me to do it, and I kind of stepped back and just thought, okay, try to separate yourself from that picture, and there's something kind of incredible and beautiful about it.
Right.
And go with it. And I trust Ryan completely when it comes to graphic design and basic general coolness.
Right.
I trust him. So I just embraced it and went with it. I even ended up I made a t-shirt with that picture on it recently that you can get on my website.
There you go.
That I've actually sold quite a few of, which is
Nice.
really funny. But
Nice.
yeah, I think the funniest part for me about the cover is I've noticed that there's some people online that don't even know who I am, that just think that that's who is singing, like that is what the person that is on those songs looks like currently. And then that is just the most entertaining. I mean, that's worth it right there to me. 100%
No
worth
kidding.
it.
That's great, man. That's great. Well, it's like you're half right.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's great. That's great. Now, one thing that I'm sure a lot of people have talked about a lot surrounding this record is just there's a lot of guest vocalists on this record, which I always
Yeah.
find highly entertaining. How
Cool.
did you pick the people to be vocalists on this record? Because I mean, if anyone knows a ton of people who would be willing to do it, I would guess it would be you.
Yeah.
But how did you land on these?
Well, I had a pretty big list, and I kind of went with my gut. Once I kind of established the direction that the record was kind of headed in aesthetically, I thought, man, I think Sherry would be so cool. It would be so cool to hear her on a track like this, and it would be so cool to hear Elle on a track like this. And then it kind of came down to it was a feel thing. I plan on doing more. I mean, I had a bunch more people, and I want to do more. I love collaborating. It's so fun, and you know, but yeah, I feel so good about the way this all worked out. Stephanie, who's on the track, I Don't Know Who You Are. She's someone I met since moving to Tennessee, and I'm just a huge fan. I think she's incredible. That is probably my favorite song on the record.
Okay.
She just sounds amazing on it. Elle, I'm just a huge fan of. Maddie Mullins is a friend of mine. I've never worked with him, but we live in the same town down here. We live like 2 miles from each other.
Oh,
And
okay, cool.
I met him since I moved out here too, but we've gotten close, and I just love that guy to death. So
Nice.
yeah, it was just fun, you know, just like I thought it would be fun to showcase some people that I love, and turned out cool.
Yeah, I'm gathering it's the single and is the song Invincible, which of course has El Puckett on it. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that song specifically and kind of what went into it and what your thoughts behind it are.
Yeah, that song, man, that is just such a weird but awesome song. It really turned out neat. It came out of, as far as the meaning of the song goes, it's kind of about being let down by someone that you really look up to, like someone almost in a place of influence and power in your life, but being able to just see them as a person, and as no different than you, and just being able to I think for me, it's really easy to resent and hold a grudge against the people that have let me down the most. And the people that have let me down the most have been the people that I've looked up to the most, that I've really been disappointed in. And that song is about kind of the journey of someone going through that, and finding the ability to have compassion for that person, regardless. And that was like deliberately something I wrote about because it challenged me. It was something that I'm not good at that. And it's just such a deep level of compassion that I think we don't even think about. It seems very justified to be upset and resent somebody that's let down, let's say, a huge group of people, for instance, someone in a leadership position. Like, I think that's easy to find people like that in the church. I think it's easy to find people like that in our culture. And I don't know if that makes sense at all.
I think it does. And I think it does. I mean, you know, you're right. I mean, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be, you know, your preacher or pastor or, you know, an elder or whatever that name is for it in your church, if you're a church person. But
Yeah.
I mean, even just people within Christianity. I mean, and of course, I'm sure you've seen it many times is, you know, artists make mistakes, and, you know,
Oh, yeah.
band members get a divorce, they have affairs, they get
Oh,
a
yeah.
drinking problem. You know, there's all of these things that happen that are real life problems that we assume that you're a Christian, you're in a band, you've got it all together. This won't ever happen to you because you are who you are. And that's just not the case. And when it does happen, it's amazing how surprised we all get, including myself, because you're always like, oh, that what? You know, and it's like, well, but they are human beings, and this happens, and it's just unfortunate that, for them in that moment that their life is on display, because the average person might be able to just skate past it and be okay.
Yep, that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's something I've seen since, my introduction into the music industry in the 90s.
Yeah.
That sort of pressure thrust upon people that are just trying to make records and play shows, and I think that, yeah, that's important.
For sure. And dude, I mean, I think not only is it a good theme, but I also like the fact that you're writing about something that you struggle with, because I think so often that's something that's easy to skate by and just say, well, I'm going to write about something I know people struggle with, but it's not necessarily something personal for you.
Yeah, I went into this album with kind of I made a commitment to myself that I was going to write about real stuff, and I was going to try to be as honest as I could about what I'm experiencing in my life right now. And even if people don't get that directly from it, there's an air that it puts in it of connection and honesty and integrity and authenticity and all that stuff, all those cool buzzwords.
Yeah.
But I think that's real.
Yeah.
That's why the reason I listen to music is because I get an emotional response
Right.
out of the music. That's it. I mean, I try to not think about that too much, but that's really why.
Yeah.
Makes me feel a certain way. And the only way I can try to chase, I try to chase that feeling in my own music, and the only way I can get there is if I'm saying something real.
Yeah.
So all the songs are about me, about something I have thought or experienced or struggled with. All of them are.
Well, on a lighter note, is it nice to have something that is inspired by your favorite decade of music be put out on a disc that is reminiscent of that decade, aka vinyl?
Yeah. Oh man, that was awesome. It's the first. I mean, my old band Poro Lou, we did a vinyl for our second record in '95, 4 or 5, something like that. That's the last real vinyl I've ever done. As long as if my memory serves me. But yeah, I love it. I mean, it's really the only way I purchase music anymore is on vinyl personally. So that was awesome. Really cool. It was fun to listen to it when I got it. It was a real trip to listen to it on vinyl, and it sounds great too. It really translated well.
And plus it's hot
Troy
pink.
did a good job. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, Ryan just went for it. It's funny because when I work with Ryan, he loves working with me because I just say I don't really get in. I don't get involved. I just say, I want you to do it because you're the master of that, and I'm not gonna meddle with it. Just do what you do. And he went for it, and the vinyl's awesome looking. Yeah, it's fun, really fun. Exciting.
Yeah,
stuff.
For sure, man. For sure. Well, is there anything else that you want people to know about the record? I know you got another phone call coming up before too much longer, and I don't want to keep you over time or anything, but also
I
don't
know.
On the table.
I'm just super thrilled at the response. People seem to be really liking it, and that is more than I could ask for. I mean, I would just encourage people to reach out to me and let me know how it's affecting them or how it's making them feel, what it's doing in their life. Is so encouraging to me to hear that stuff, and it's awesome. So yeah.
Very cool, man. Very cool. Awesome. All right, well, that can wrap up the interview portion. Real quick, I'm gonna play Invincible on the show, but then we also tried to play 2 songs from the artist that's being interviewed. What other song would you like me to play?
I think I know the label is talking about Real Life as a single, but I feel like it might be cool to do. I think Not Listening is I've gotten the most personal messages on social media about the song Not Listening.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's fine. And I mean, it doesn't have to be a potential single. I mean, we have people who pull in old songs that they really like. We have people who pull in whatever. So it doesn't have to be a single.
I think Not